this edition we carry on completing the work of the engine shed, which is getting ever closer to completion. Some more scenic work around the gasworks and around the viaduct, and also 2 new locomotives have joined the fleet over the last few weeks, one of which actually before the last video went out, but I just didn't have time to put it in, which I'll show you in the extended running session. So let's get on and move on to looking at how we complete the front of the engine shed to allow the roof to be built. Excuse this being handheld, but I want to try and capture some of the work as I work on the engine shed as I do them. So I'm not going to set up lights and the rest to do this quick bit of recording. The task for today is to get the 10 lights in the shed. So the soldering iron is heating up. This joint here is moving, so that needs to be repaired. Because it shouldn't be moving. It's supposed to be soldered, so that needs to be repaired. I've finished gluing some things there so that can come off. You can see the one light sitting on there. Once I attach the lights, I'm then using jewellery wire to attach the light to the truss, because I've found in the past it really difficult to get glue to stick with these wires. They're so fine, and that seems to work quite well. So the aim therefore is to have obviously lights on both sides on the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th and 9th trusses, and I think that will give enough light. So we'll see when I get finished how straightforward this is to do. So I'll come back possibly about halfway through just so you can see how I'm getting on. But it's time to wield the soldering iron. Okay, well I'm actually just over halfway, because this one hasn't been fixed into place yet. So I've got 6 of the 10 done. And you can begin to see the effect that this is going to give. Excuse me a moment, if I turn the top light off. That will give you a better idea of the light that it's shedding. This is fiddly work. I don't know if you can see. Yes, you can. You can see the wire that is being used to, if I can focus on that. The wire that's being used to hold the lamp. And then I need to put another piece of wire at various points to put tension on to hold the lamp in the right place. Which is being done with tweezers and pliers, because my big fingers simply can't get in there to do the twisting. However, I think those first 6 lights are just what I was looking for in terms of the amount of light they're giving off. So I will carry on now and do the other 4, and then we will have the engine shed lit. We've moved on a couple of days now, and I've completed all the lamps. And they're on, believe it or not. I'll put up here a piece of video I've just taken with the blind down, so you get a better idea of the light. The lamps are not very strong, but the overall effect will be just what I want, and particularly once you can get the roof on, you'll get a better view of the lamps. You'll see that the front of the building has also started to be built, because the order of play was get the lamps in, then build the front. Once I've got that, then I can concentrate on getting the roof sorted, which I'll be doing shortly. But the front I'm debating at the moment. Initially I was going to have the front with brick just slightly coming in here on either side, and then a central piece, because this piece of I-beam would need supporting, and I've still to finalise how I'm going to do the columns down the centre here to support this middle beam, these middle beams as well, but all that in time. But I might go over to using some metal sheet. I was in Harbin this morning. I needed to get some more card, because the plasticard I had started to go very brittle and made it impossible to cut. But I managed to get, I don't know if this is going to focus through the, oh, there we are. This is metal siding, evergreen sheet styrene. And I'm sort of tempted to do the front in that. So I might cut some up and see what it looks like, paint it grey. So that the front of the building would be this grey colour before it gets into the brick going behind. So I'll see what that looks like, and I'll come back once I've made my mind up and when you see what the final thing will do. Because once I've got the front on, I can settle the roof part to from here to this beam, and then the roof for the canopy will start from this beam to the back wall. So I'll come back once I've got the front of the building on, and just before I start work on building the roof. Right, well, I've fixed the front of the building on, the side walls are in place, and the bar, and that's all now stuck down. And as I very heavily hinted I was going to do, I have used the metal sheeting, the evergreen styrene metal siding for the front of the building. So there's two pieces, if I bring it into focus here, there's two pieces of the metal siding. This has only had one coat of the grey paint, so it needs another coat on there. In the middle, to give me a gap, because I wanted this to go either side of the bar. So I've got the depth of one piece of H-beam here, if I move this onto focus here, the depth of the H-beam here, and then the bar going across the back of it. And this needs to sit up and go into place here, which is where it does. Similarly, I've built one for the other side, and then for the middle I've gone for a thinner piece, and this merely has two pieces of this bar separating it either side, and then that slides up there. Because that's quite a bit fiddly to get all these to go in and sit just where you want them to sit. I took a picture earlier of this sitting on the site, because I also wanted to have a look at how does it look as kind of the finished thing. So I'll pop that up now so you can see what it looks like with all three pieces in place. So they need to be given another coat of paint, which I will do, and then I shall fix them into place, and that will complete the building of the front. Then I'm just going to settle in my mind how I'm going to affix the roof for the first section. I think what I'm going to do is that the roof will come along and go as far as this bar and sit on the bar, and then I need to think about the front of the canopy pieces. At the back, the canopy pieces fall into the wall, so they're the same depth as the trusses. At the front, I think they're going to have to be a little bit shorter, because I don't want them sliding down behind this bar, but rather sitting on top of it. So I'll have a think about that, but I think that's probably for next week rather than this, because we've done quite a bit on the engine shed this week. And if I complete this before the video goes out, then I will insert a section just showing you with the front on and the front of the roof in place. But we'll have to see how I get along. Okay, well, that's it for now. Let's move on to something else. As you can see, I've started work on the Scenic area in front of the gasworks. The paving is Metcalf paving. It's what I've used elsewhere, so it's fairly consistent. And the grassy area in front, which I always wanted to be just a large area of grass, was created using, first of all, patchy and dead grass as an undercoat, essentially. Quite long pieces of that, 2mm and some 4mm. And then I lightly sprinkled over the top some spring grass, because I didn't think the grass here would be entirely dead. Elsewhere grass isn't entirely dead, except for the bank, if I move here, except for this bank here. And I think that may get a retreatment soon, because there's no reason why, alone of all the grass on Elvenhome, that should just be dead. So I think that needs probably an approach from me, which I will do. So you can begin to see now what's been in my mind for a while. If I move round to the viaduct, you'll see that the pathway goes underneath the viaduct, and this will be the road section at this side. And what will happen is that it won't be very wide, and that this is the edge of where High Elven will be. The cliff front will come down to meet the road, so the road will run along the side of the cliff front when I get round to doing the High Elven parts. But I'm quite pleased. This is beginning to come together now. It's nice to see a bit of colour down here as well, which is quite good. And you may not have seen, if I move you over here, I've started work on the scrapyard as well. At the moment, things are just sort of placed in to give me an idea of how much space, if I do, there we go, how much space I'm needing to fill. And it's not quite as bad as I thought. As I said, all of this area up here is going to be overgrown. I'm going to fill that in with bushes and things. So the scrapyard's only going to start from here. And then there will be some bushes and bits in between all of this. And that will then come round under the arch. I put only 2 parts of this broken fence, which is a scale model scenery kit. And I'll put in here some shots that I took of the camera down level here, both to show you more what's going on under this arch, but also the start of this fence. All I've done with this fence is essentially to put some weathering powders on it, because I thought the colour looked okay to me. I don't need to paint it anymore. It's a very easy kit to put together, but I think a very effective one, so I'm really quite pleased with that. I've only put half of the fencing in at the moment, because I've not yet settled in my mind where the entrance to the yard will be, and that will also be dictated by whatever I do at High Elven for the front of the board to blend it down to the baseboard. But it's been quite nice to get back doing some scenic work. You forget how much fun it is. Not always, sometimes, because you think, oh, that's not looking very good, but then suddenly it comes together. And it is always great fun doing the scenic work. So I think with that, you've seen the locomotives running round. I think what we'll do is we'll go to a running session, because one of the locomotives that's going round, which is now at the furthest point, so you can't see it, is a Fairburn 4MT, which I acquired via eBay. Let me move up here. It's just coming behind the fire station. There she is. And it's a beautiful model, and I'm really pleased with it. So it's one of 2 new models. In the running session, you will also see that along with it, many other Engage modelers, my 56XX from Scenic Models arrived. In fact, it arrived in time for the last video, but I didn't have time in that to put it in. So you'll get to see that hauling some freight as well in the running session which follows. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that edition of Elvenhome. I've had great fun doing all those things. It's been good to see the engine shed, and if you'll have seen in the running clips that I did manage to get the front half of the engine, or the front portion of the engine shed finished. And the next thing now is to get on with building the roof. There'll be more scenic work, I think, done around the gasworks and the viaducts, because I want to try and get that settled before I have to turn my mind to High Elven. And actually, in the next edition, I think I will want to start thinking about what the layout at High Elven is going to be. If you've liked the video, well, please do give it a thumbs up. That's all very helpful. And if you haven't already subscribed, well, please do thinking about subscribing, because it'd be great to have you along. If you have any comments, please do let me have your comments. All the comments that I get are really so helpful in just making me think, and think hard, about the things that I'm doing on the layout. So until I speak to you again in about a fortnight's time, that's goodbye from me. Bye bye.